All right, guys, Panama. It's a wrap. We made it. We made it. We made it. We made it. So, I mean, let's talk about Panama. It was sort of rough, right, man? Just getting into the country from Costa Rica. What did you think, man? When you saw that line when you came from Costa Rica into Panama, were you like, this is a joke?
For me, it's the first time in every country, but the guys, the way you guys were talking about it, you made it seem like Panama was going to be the easiest one, more developed than any other. And once we got to the border, it was like, well, maybe we had to cross literally a bridge that was almost falling apart.
Yeah.
Well, maybe like because I think probably because, you know, Panama City is, when people think of Panama, I think of Panama City.
Yeah.
And it does have its infrastructure.
Yeah.
But once you get outside of it, it's pretty raw.
Well, they think of the buildings behind us, which are banks, hotels. They think of the waterway,
expensive
things.
Stuff,
yeah, it's like Miami. I mean, it's an amazing thing. But then and that gets us to Panama City, the contrast, man. It sort of slips you into thinking that you're in, you know, this city that's extremely developed. But then there are all these constant reminders that, wait a minute, this is still a developing country. And you know, when I think of Cologne, for example. Now, we went to the free trade zone in Cologne, and Renzo, I know you've been to Cologne. It's not recommended that tourists go there alone. You knew somebody, right?
Yeah. I've actually been there a couple of times shooting music videos and interviewing certain people.
Yeah.
It's very interesting because there's 16 streets and there's 19 gangs.
Yeah.
So you could imagine a lot of violence there. It's a port city, a lot of drugs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But now there's cruise ships and of course the free trade zone. So I kind of just passed by Colón City and went straight to the free zone, and they're actually making a highway connecting the main highway to the free zone. So it's like isolating the poor people to, you know, the people with money or.
Let me ask you guys this, Paco, favorite moment.
I think Bocas del Toro was a great town. I had a blast there. We met some very interesting people. I mean, we met Shay, which was a great girl that was hanging out with us. The music scene was great. I mean, we met a couple bands. Very reggae-oriented town. So. I'm a big reggae music fan, so for me, Bocas del Toro was great. I mean, it was a really pain to get there, but once we were there, it was a very, very enjoyable time.
It was worth it, right? Yeah, Renz?
I have two.
Okay.
My first one was Los Congos de Portobelo, just because I love culture and costumes and music.
Yeah.
And they only do this dance once a year, so they did it for us. It was something special. For my part, I really loved it. And my second part was when we first arrived at the island of Hug in San Blas.
In San Blas,
because I've never seen something like that, where you see so many little islands and they're so small and they feel like they're your own. We're not there alone, but it feels like this is our little island, and you know, this is paradise.
I agree, man. That was, I mean, if I had to pick my favorite moment, it would be San Blas. Even though there's a lot of things to like. I like Bocas del Toro. I like many things about Panama City. I loved Portobelo. It was beautiful in the dancing. But my favorite moment would definitely be staying on that island in San Blas. And it was also my least favorite moment, which I'm going to ask you guys about, because that's what's interesting about it. If someone said, what was your most uncomfortable experience, it'd be sleeping there. There were roaches on the bed. And you know, we kept calling them beetles just to make us feel better, but they were roaches. And you know, I woke up in the middle of the night like that, and there were sand crabs on the floor. And you know, you have to be a special type of person to be able to stay in those accommodations. It's not a 5-star hotel by any stretch. It's a lot like camping out, but the beauty surrounding it. So it's the contrast, and that was a metaphor for life for me. Like, without the happiness, there is no sadness. Without sadness, there is no happiness. And that's what makes a great travel experience. And there were other things about San Blas I did not like, but I really, really loved it. All right, so you already told you my least favorite moment, which was like cockroaches crawling on me trying to sleep. What about you, man? Least favorite moment?
I think for me, the least favorite moment, it's been getting around Panama City. I think that
the traffic,
you know, the traffic. I think it is because, I mean, if you like drive around at this very moment, there's so much construction. That you feel like I might come back maybe in 3-4 years when everything is done and it'll be so much greater. But right now, being in this moment, there's traffic everywhere, there's construction everywhere, everybody's beeping, and it's just, I don't know.
Confusion on the tolls.
Confusion in the tolls.
Nobody knows what's going on. Nobody can tell us.
Information for directions is almost non-existent.
Yeah, so what about you, Renzo? What was your least favorite moment?
It's surprisingly, but it was San Blas, like you said, and it wasn't a moment, it was the people. And not everybody, it was the fact that we were there to learn about the culture, the Cuna Yala culture, and we were there to document it so we can tell the world through television. And capitalism all of a sudden popped up. They were asking for money for everything.
Yeah.
And I think that's when I got really down, because I was there with all the best intentions, with all the love, with all the interest. And all this asking for money for every little picture, either it's $1 or $20. I was like, and then they said, oh, if they catch us shooting without permission, they're gonna fine us $1,000 or $1,500. Right. We're talking about a little island, you know?
I agree with you. That was disconcerting, but I think that's a moment in time of where they are, because it's an ancient culture that's trying to now, you know, bring tourism. They've only had it for 10 years, right? So they're still learning, and they don't understand, you know, the limits yet. You know what, you know, good taste is in terms of what you can ask for. Like, you charge those outrageous prices for the views, but yet you have roaches on the bed, so that's going to bring it down. So they don't quite understand. And I think there may be a minority that's leading them into this, you know, perception that this is, you know, money to be made, and hopefully it'll correct itself. I heard that once you get away from a couple of the main islands further away, that it gets a little less like that. So you can still do it. I think that's San Blas is going to be interesting to come back to, and for people who want to go there in the next 5-10 years. I read the reviews, I dreaded it and looked forward to it at the same time, and I was like, man, I don't really want to do this trip because I knew what to expect. And ironically, what you said is the opposite. I actually was like, they're very friendly, they were cool. Aside from the asking for the money, which I just sort of blew off, I thought that was, you know, it's weird, you know, it's expectations, right? Because I knew that going in, and maybe you didn't. And so I was like prepared for it, and yet I was surprised at how, you know, positive of an experience I had. And once again, just showing you, man, that travel is a very personal thing. So no matter what we say, you got to get out there and try it yourself, and that's the main thing. You know, you got to get out there, you got to do it yourself. Don't let us just sit around and talk about it. You get out there, you get your passport, and go see the world, man. These are your neighbors, and life is short, man. You got to make the most of your time.